In this video, we are going to be looking at the steps or the algorithms for converting between decimals, fractions, and percentages. So in another video, you filled out a chart with common fractions, decimals, and percentages. But of course, we know that they're not always going to be so neat and tidy. So here we're going to go over the steps of how you do it that are not those common ones. Okay, so first let's start with converting decimals to fractions, because that's probably the simplest one. All right, so when you're converting decimals to fractions, what you're going to do is use the place value and simplify. All right, so what do we mean by that? So let's say we were to start with 75 hundredths. The 5, or the last digit, is in the hundredths place. So go ahead and underline that and say, this is the hundredths. So that means the denominator is going to be hundredths. And the digits are 75, so we have 75 hundredths, or 75 over 100. And then we can simplify this because it's not in its lowest terms. And I know that both of those, the numerator and the denominator, are both divisible by 25. So I'm going to divide each one by 25, and I am going to get 3/4. All right. So now, what if I were to want to go back the other way? What if I were to have a fraction and I wanted to go to the decimal? So let's say I had the fraction I started with was 3/4, and I wanted to know what is that as a decimal. I am going to divide the numerator by the denominator. Okay, so it's dividing the numerator, 3 divided by 4. Oh, denominator. Denominator, so no I. Okay, so 3 divided by 4 would be like this, and I would put 3 in my division bar divided by 4, and then I would divide it using long division. Okay, so I'm going to put my decimal there, maybe a 0, because I know that I'm going to be going into the decimal places, obviously. So 4 goes into 3, can't do it. So 4 goes into 30. How many times? Well, we're going to do 7. 7 times 4 is going to be 28. Find the difference, bring down my, and I'm running out of room, so I'll go over here. 2. And it looks like I need to bring down a 0. There we go. 4 goes into 20 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. No left over, so I know I've reached the end. So there we have our decimal point, or our 75 hundredths. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is the conversion between decimals and percents. So if you have a decimal, let's say something like this, 0.75 again, all you have to do is multiply by 100. So 0.75 times 100, in essence, you move your decimal point over 2 places, 1, 2, and you now have 75%. So move decimal 2 places right. All right. And then to go from, let's do now a percent back to a decimal. So let's say you're starting with, this time, 75%. You are going to divide by 100. So you have that 75, and you know the decimal point is there. Dividing by 100 means moving the decimal point 2 places to the left. So we have 0.75. Okay, 2 places left. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is convert a percent to a fraction. So let's say we had, I guess we'll just keep using the same one. So say I had 75%. Percent means out of 100. Actually, let's write that, out of 100. The percentage is always going to be out of 100, and so that is going to be your denominator. So you take those digits, 75 is going to be 75 out of 100, and then you simplify using the same methods or strategies that we showed you there. So that would be 3/4. So that means convert percent to a fraction over 100. That's always the denominator. And simplify. All right, and now the last one, going from a fraction to a percent. You are going to convert the fraction into an equivalent fraction with 100 as the denominator. Okay, so again, we'll keep using this 3/4. So if that's the fraction we're starting with and we want to convert it to a percent, we think it's equivalent to some fraction out of 100. So what did we multiply 4 by in order to get to 100? We multiplied it by 25. So 3 times 25, because we have to do the same thing to the numerator as we did to the denominator. So that's going to be 75. So we have 75 out of 100. So now we have an equivalent fraction out of 100, and percentages are always out of 100. So we know that we can just take whatever number is here and then do 75%. There we go. Okay, those are the 3 things that we can convert between, and those are the steps.